Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to another program here in Jumma. I hope you guys are doing well and are staying safe. I hope you guys are enjoying the rain. For those folks that are, experiencing the rain at this moment here in Southern California. Today we've got someone very special with us here, who is joining us from the Muslim American Society, which is also known as MAS. We've got the executive director with us, Brother Tareq Purmul. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brother Tareq.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Wa alaikum salam.
Again, it's a pleasure to have you. Now, to get started, I know our community is very well versed, and they know they know about MAS. To a large extent, they know the services pertaining to what the Muslim American Society does do. But then we do have certain community members or families that are still unaware of where is MAS today currently, right, post the pandemic. Even to get started, I just wanted to ask you this question of what is the Muslim American Society, which is known as MAS, for those individuals that have no idea what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So MAS, the work of MAS is actually, it's one of the oldest institutions, Muslim institutions here in the United States, specifically from, I guess you could say, the immigrant community, or the new American community, as some people say. The work really started, the brothers involved, the work started back in the 60s, actually in the early 60s. And a lot of the institutions that we as a community not only enjoy, but the institutions that has sort of instigated the growth and of our community and the support that that the community has needed in order to grow were first started by the brothers and sisters from MAS. At that time, in the early 60s, it wasn't initially formalized under the name MAS, but it's the same brothers and sisters who helped create the first institution was like the MSAs, or the institution of the Muslim Student Association on campus, and institutions like NATE, the North American Islamic Trust, which holds the deeds to most of the masajid across the United States. Institutions like CARE, like ISNA. It goes on from there. A good deal of the Islamic centers and masajid, as well as the full-time Islamic schools, and almost all of the youth centers across the United States has been the work of MAS. But in 1993 is actually when it formally incorporated under the name Muslim American Society. And since then, the work of MAS has been really around. It's really focused on reform. So we are a Islah movement. Our purpose is reform, and specifically social reform. So we want to bring the beautiful values of Islam to America and American society, and that's really why all of these institutions were built. It's why a lot of our work is based around building individuals, and we have sort of a methodology, and our methodology is really built around three goals that we have. One is building the strong Muslim individual. The second is building the strong Muslim family, and the third is building a strong community and a strong society as a whole. I believe the work of MAS is more relevant and more needed today than any other time. I mean, everyone is going through a time where really we look at our political scene here in America. We look at really the areas of business and ethics and morals and values are really something in question. Integrity is not something. I mean, people are expected to lie because they're in a position. That's just the way things have to be because, well, they're in this position. So they have to lie, and there's no dignity about it. There's no issue with it. So the work of mass is really around, those areas, and our purpose is really to build individuals who are rooted in faith and mission driven, to serve our communities and our societies. Our purpose is to again, anytime you work in the area of reform, your work is around in bettering what's around you. Building stronger families. Even the family units today is something that is under question, and also, I guess you can say it's under attack from that sense. So really, that's what all our work is around, is the area of social reform, and then our departments are really built around that. Our institutions are built around that. So that's, in the area of social reform, that's where building these individuals we built through Masajid, building individuals we built through Islamic schools, building individuals we built through our Tarbiyah program and our process, which is a fairly extensive one. In Southern California, we have roughly about 300 people in weekly, halaqas, or what we call usras, family units, and that's where our work sort of a lot of it's based around. But of course, we have our youth department and our focus on youth, and that sort of is evident from Mass's work from the beginning. The first institution, like I said, MSAs. We believe that the future of Islam lies in our youth, every generation, the people who continue to carry the torch and can be the hope for society are the next generation. So that's why most of the time, most of the community has sort of seen us through the light of youth, even though our work is much more expansive than just youth. But we do have a focus and a priority when it comes to youth and youth development. So a lot of our programs are really based around that. We also have another department called a Family Programs Department, which puts on a lot of the family camps. In essence, the convention lies within this type of work that we do. The largest convention on the West Coast is really about bringing families together and having them grow together, both spiritually and as a family unit. All of that is really based around, it's part of the work of Islah and reform. We have PACE, which is our really social justice arm of Mass. There are, as we can see in 2020, it's important for Muslims to be involved in calling for justice in America. I mean, this is a very core value throughout the Quran and throughout the teachings of Islam, that Muslims should always be the ones who stand for justice, even if it's against themselves. Meaning that if we are, and I don't have to teach, everyone here, but they know the importance in the hadith and the ayahs that have come about justice, and so that's really the work of Mass PACE and why it was created. We have, a year and a half ago we started. Maybe about a year ago we started the Orange County Muslim Chamber of Commerce, and before that, for 3 prior years before that, we had the San Diego Muslim Chamber of Commerce, and the purpose behind that was for us to be able to help strengthen our economy as a community, and this is something that's been needed for a long time. We have focuses in different areas, but really growing and strengthening the Muslim economy has a huge impact on our lives. I mean, this is at most a good portion of our community are refugees, and another good portion of our community are immigrants, and even you can say the native Muslims of America. Also, this is an area of need for all of us. So looking at how we can help strengthen that and being able to do it, through different methods, but one of those methods being the, strengthening the small businesses in our community and recycling money back within our own community. That was a big priority. So that's, all of our departments and institutions really, again, it falls within that strategy and that methodology of Islah and reform.
Absolutely. And I think I was fortunate enough to join you guys for the Muslim Chamber of Commerce, and the idea behind it is very important, right?
Yes.
Trying to recycle funding or resources, it either be sourcing or outsourcing services to others within the communities. It's very smart. It's very good, and I hope it does show in effect when our community tries to support local businesses and families, and
Yes.
especially at times of the pandemic. I think it's even more important. I think you said something very important, and I'd like to kind of expand more on it. Is that you said a lot of the community members, they see mass through the lens of the youth. Now, I wanted to just kind of ask another question, a two-part question. What are some of Mass's goals for the community here in Southern California? And second is, what is Mass's 2021 vision for the community?
Yeah. Well, first, I think one of our major goals for 2021 is us to strengthen ourselves as a community and as individuals, spiritually and within our own faith. I think what's happening also in the surrounding, environment here, it's happening in America. Faith as a whole is being questioned more than ever. We have we cannot detach ourselves from the political reality that we live in today, and the political reality today is where a party, I guess you could say a political party, has attached itself to which identifies as a religious party, and yet I think it gives a bad name to religion, because people sort of see the hypocrisy. You can't be people who speak about love and mercy and compassion, but then all you see is hate and death and so forth, and racism and so forth and so on. So what's happening in America is really, for the most part, like I can, at the rate that atheism is growing in the United States, you cannot, it's natural. And I might get some flack for that, but my context in saying it's natural is that it's not about what you say on the pulpit, it's what you do. So when most of Americans are seeing faith from the light of hypocrisy, and then you, as a Muslim, whenever you're trying to sort of not only in dawah, not only in talking to others, but within yourself, within the psychology of your own kids, when they go to school and faith is seen, anyone of faith is seen like, oh my God, you believe in a boogeyman. So I think it's important for us specifically as a community to sort of understand what's happening and prioritize this, because I think for a lot of families, this goes unspoken. We don't speak to our kids about this, and we don't really put enough effort in making sure that our children and our community is grounded in faith. Because, to be honest, I'm not that old, but I do remember the days where everything else was seen through the prism of Islam, and today Islam is seen as something that fits. So therefore we're okay. My point is, we saw democracy and even the validity of democracy through the prism of Islam 20 years ago. We saw, the stock market, everything was validated through Islam. And today that's not the case at all. Today, like, there's been, 9/11, of course, has something to play with it. The Islamophobia, all of these were agendas that were sort of run on our community. And today there's almost an apology. I mean, who today says that I believe in Sharia, right? Not necessarily enforcing Sharia here in America, but my point is the concept of Sharia. How many people can say that proudly? How much of our youth can say that? And when it comes to other values, are we? So, the goal really is to be able to help develop these Muslim individuals who are rooted in faith, mission driven, and are very proud and understand what their mission is. Look, the mission isn't easy here. We have the circumstances are stacked against us, but we have Allah, and this is, you don't need anything else. You need that and a conviction for what your mission is. And so that's one of our, I think, priorities. The second goal and vision really for 2021, again, it's a year of safety and economy. Hopefully to be able to keep our community safe, hoping to encourage the masajid. This is an area that's a tough situation where, I've been in masajid where they haven't really taken this COVID pandemic that seriously. And us as a community, we really need to, understand what's at stake when it comes to this pandemic and help in handling it. And at the same time, the effect that it, has on our communities economically. We know where a lot, the unemployment rate is at, extremely high unemployment rates we're going through. The economy is still being manipulated. I still think we have yet to see the real impact of COVID economically. But to help, to be fiscally conservative and also, responsible with community institutions with the funds, and also the families being, understanding the situation, and also helping to, invest in things that would help. The NGOs are doing an amazing job. A lot of them, Islamic Relief, Zakat Foundation, Beit al-Mal, amongst a few, are doing some amazing work in, helping families that are really struggling at this time. And we need to really invest in that, and also invest in institutions like the Chamber that have a long-term vision on strengthening that community. But those are the two areas that I see for 2021. I think that it's a time for, and the last, actually the third, is for us to be the change we seek. Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. Like, we need to be I think the time of talking from a pulpit and a moral high ground is done. I think we need to be on the ground helping, our communities and our society to get through this. We don't need to talk about, how great we are or anyone else is. We need to be the ones who are actually, leading through action and allowing people to come to conclusions.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I know, Mass has so many chapters throughout the nation. And you guys are able to collect data. You guys are able to see, what the needs of the community is, what the need of the youth is. Mm-hmm. And something that I wanted to ask you is, what are some roles does Mass play in religious or educational programs? I know you did mention the importance of, how Islam is kind of being diverted or being understood in a different manner, or where the youth are not empowered to, come out or, to tell, and share with others that, we are Muslims, or even the idea of the Sharia, like you said, nobody says Sharia anymore, because through television, we realized that word has been kind of defined in a very negative term, and also there's misinterpretation of the term, and that really kind of stresses the younger generation. So how would you say, what are some of the roles that Mass plays currently when it comes to religion or educational programs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, part of the work of Mass is institution building. So part of that is sort of addressed through the masajid that, Mass has helped build and support and continually support today, through the Islamic schools that we run. Whether we manage it, like, for example, in San Diego, one of 3 Islamic schools, I believe, in California, that have like a full-time Islamic school all the way to high school. And so through those schools, we wanting to be able to educate and build that is, from our students in Islam, and also the understanding of what Islam is, and explaining what Sharia and the principles of Sharia is, and all of the stuff that that's sort of happening to our community, sort of countering some of the again, like, these stuff it's not haphazardly. It's not just 9/11. These are agendas that are being run on our community. And, the focus of Islamophobia is not just the non-Muslims. It's specifically to create a community who is embarrassed to talk about who they are and what they believe in. So those programs, and then of course, like I said, most of our work and most of our um, uh, sort of week to week, day to day work is really done through our usras and halaqas, which is the primary focus a lot of how we're able to build individuals and youth. Um, I have to say, since my work in youth work for many years, I haven't seen it being harder than today to engage with youth. It's a tougher time. I think social media has really changed the game before, because normally programs and stuff were sort of used as the top of the funnel that sort of would attract youth, whatever events that you would have. And I do, a lot of Mass's work right now is based around rethinking how to engage with youth in the social media world. Because we live in an on-demand world. I don't need to come to a lecture. I don't need to come to anything, because I can pick up my phone with in my PJs at 3 a.m, and I can listen to anything I wanted to or see everything I want to. So that, I think, has there needs to be a lot of not just creativity, but a lot of thought and vision put into that engagement process, because it's not something we're seeing just in the Muslim community. We're seeing this in the non-Muslim community. Like, the engagement aspect has been has dynamically changed, and we have to also change. And
this is very important. I think you said something. Again, with the pandemic taking place, and the use of digital media has really shifted. And this was really, people are starting to utilize social media more than ever before, right? And that kind of boomed in that industry. And when it comes to technology, but how involved are students, or let's say the youth or families today, compared to pre-COVID?
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, during the COVID, that engagement is even further reduced, because we're human at the end of the day, and we have human natural processes that we're going to engage. I think I can say for myself and most other people that I know, they've been zoomed out. Like, there's only so much digital interaction that we can take, because we have to do it for work, we have to do it for everything else. So that engagement with the youth, on top of living in a, I guess you could say, I don't know what the right term is, the social media era that we live in.
Millennial, the age of millennial.
I know this is a touchy millennial. It's that term is touchy, but yeah, for sure. This is the millennial age. It's the social media age. So now, in the pandemic, it's a little bit, and at times, we found it that there's benefits to it. The virtual ability, like, I think it also, for businesses and for nonprofits and Muslim organizations like ourselves, it sort of forced us to invest more in the online world that maybe we didn't take as seriously before. So, like, looking at different ways of engagement through online. But yeah, it definitely has affected. The pandemic has affected engagement and the ability to engage because of the restrictions.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I was going to ask, how have you or your team been able to kind of restructure Mass's programs or operations amidst this pandemic?
Well, one of the things we did is we sort of, for the Greater Los Angeles chapter, one of our challenges is when you talk about Greater Los Angeles, that's a vast area. So we have our membership and our programs across Greater Los Angeles. One of the benefits, like I said, is there's a challenge already with the geography of being able to sort of support the community at that scale, and of course we're still working on being able to effectively support fully that whole area. But what the pandemic did is it sort of allowed us to centralize. Normally I myself, I'm not an advocate for centralization. I'm much more of a I really believe that we need grassroots, boots on the ground. Maybe boots is the wrong word, but feet on the ground in the different areas. And but the pandemic, because of the circumstances of the pandemic, it allowed us to centralize those teams a little bit. So we had to restructure internally, where before some of our departments were actually structured in a unit format. There's 4 units that we have in Mass Greater Los Angeles, which is the Orange County unit, the Inland Empire unit, the Valley unit, and Los Angeles unit. And so, centralizing those units so that we're able to put out some programming for everyone through virtually. So it has affected us, and we've restructured based off of it. Now we're sort of having to anticipate the post-pandemic, and then the restructuring and how to strategically sort of, change our mode of operations again, post-pandemic, and also not understanding how, let's just say that, quote unquote, the pandemic itself or the lockdown ends, and how society is going to react to that. How willing are we to come out of our houses again after almost for a year and a half being, sort of conditioned that every other human being is a threat to you. So there's a lot of, I think we're in unprecedented times and extraordinary times, and I think there's a lot that's going to be a guessing game, because we haven't been in the situation before. We're going to have to anticipate, and sort of, but we can't wait till that moment. We have to plan ahead of time for that moment. So I think that's some of the challenges we're going to face.
Yeah, very true, very true. And thank you for sharing that. I know you talked about scale, and I know Mass is usually involved with, when it comes to the local level, state level, or even a national level. I wanted to ask, how does Mass's collaboration look like with other organizations in a local, state, or a national level?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, collaboration, I think, has been one of the priorities of Mass from the early onset. Institutions like the Shuta Council itself was one of the strong support of the Shuta Council, and its first onset came from Mass. The same in San Diego, here in Southern California, the Muslim Leadership Council. Mass was one of the founding members of that body. On a national scale, Mass led the entire nation in creating the USCMO, or the United States Council of Muslim Organizations, which is like the large national umbrella organization for Muslims in the U.S. And then outside of that, as a chapter basis, we've always been open to collaboration, and we've worked, for example, over the past year, we've been in collaboration with. This year has been, like I said, has been a year of pandemic, food and financial insecurity, as well as, economic insecurity. So we've partnered with Islamic Relief on, food distributions and financial distributions. We've partnered with Zakat Foundation. We've partnered with Beit al-Mal. So sort of addressing the community's, needs by collaborating, based off of that. Also, over this past year, CARE has been one of our, great partners in Southern California, doing an amazing job, and we're really proud of what they're doing, and we're a proud partner of theirs on being able to really, like I said, the areas of social justice, civil rights. A year where we just went through election, that's really an important area of our work. So collaboration, again, has always been something that we look forward to. And I think only synergy comes from combining talents.
Yeah, I was going to say, when it comes to collaboration now, how can the community or the youth get more involved with Mass's programs and cause at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to get involved, like really even being what we call a member even at a volunteer level, people could do that going through our website in Greater Los Angeles. Our website is massgreaterla.org. And there's a button that says get involved and become a member. And so it's very easy to sign up. Outside of that, coming to our events, expressing that they want to be involved. I mean, the work is heavy, and we're always looking for people to get involved in whatever area. And alhamdulillah, one of the things that's been fortunate for us is we have so many different departments and different areas of work that people can sort of give in the area that they have a passion for. So if youth work isn't something that they're passionate about, but let's just say social justice is, or if that's not, but they want to get involved in the chamber and economic development through businesses, then that may be their area. It could be the convention that we do, on an annual basis. It could be someone just, maybe not wants to get involved in everything, but wants to come to our annual youth camps and our Tarbiyah and Ilm camps. Like those are, and I just want to help with this. So just expressing their interest, but the simplest, fastest way is actually just signing up through our website, and from that, we'll contact that individual and sort of get an idea of where they want to help with.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now, diverting this question to you, just kind of get a little personal on, how did you come across MAS, and what really drove you to take a leadership role in its vision and mission for this organization?
Yeah, for myself, I think, this is going to probably come off strange to some people, but for me, MAS, of course, there's the organizational side of MAS, right? Which is the 501c3. It's the organization or institution. But MAS is also more than that. It's really a methodology and an ideology of Islam. So for me, I feel like I was very predispositioned because I always, one of the things that sort of is a core area of the ideology of MAS is MAS looks at Islam comprehensively. I always, growing up, I always resented anytime someone tried to secularize Islam, or, like, let's compartmentalize this. Hey, let's take this part out or add this part or whatever. And I was like, no, man, like, I always understood Islam that this is a deen. It's comprehensive. It fulfills, it goes from, the pulpit and the mosque and the workplace to the home. There is no sort of separation of it. So I feel like I was predispositioned. So when the idea of an organization came to me, that there's this organization, and I was okay, well, what are your thoughts? And, I was involved in a lot of other organizations and even ideologies. And the one that sort of, for me, felt natural. So for me, obviously from an organizational standpoint, there's an organization of MAS, but from an ideology standpoint, for me, there isn't a huge delineation between Islam and MAS from an ideology standpoint, because that idea of comprehensive and moderate understanding of Islam was always something I believed in what Islam was, right? And so there was an organization that said, look, this is our organizational side, but our ideology fits here. And I said, well, that's what I see Islam is. That, to me, that's what Islam is. So it was a natural fit. And of course, I was raised in a family that parents who sort of inculcated that understanding of Islam in me. And my dad spun along, like my dad was and is was a part, but he had never really spoken to me. It was weird that it had to come from outside of my own family about this, but he's a longtime MAS member, and had been a community leader for many years, but it didn't, it's a strange thing that it didn't come. And the first time I heard the term even MAS really didn't come from him. I didn't hear the ideology aspect, but I was raised with it. So it was natural. Like there wasn't really a choice, I guess you could say. My point is I never sort of had to come to the terms where I'm now a MAS member or a MAS individual, because it's like, oh, it's almost like someone asking you, are you Muslim? I'm like, yeah, I'm born Muslim. That's who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I know a couple of members of your family, and they are very involved in the community. So that does define, the importance of, your family involvement in the community. Yeah. And then again, wanted to thank you very much for giving us your time for this Friday community message. Any last suggestions or takeaways or anything you'd like to share with the community?
Just have hope. I I see the future is bright. We have a lot of work to do as a community, but the future is bright. I think more and more people, as we stop, again, speaking from the pulpit and actually leading with action, more and more people naturally will understand that Islam is something that really America needs. It's the antidote to the ills of society. That this is something that we should, we can't be proud from the standpoint like that we're any better than anyone else, but at least proud in the fact that we are, trying to bring this antidote. Like right now, we have a vaccine that everyone is sort of waiting on this vaccine to sort of change this, change our environment. Well, subhanAllah, the vaccine is going to maybe help with the pandemic, but look at what's happening to American society. I mean, to a certain extent, you almost get to feel like, we're in Rome as things are starting to head down. Like, we don't have to live in lives of corruption and intolerance and hatred and so forth. And Islam brings the antidote to that. So we as a community have hope that there's a future. We have a lot of work to do, I think, as a community. We need to, I think the first phase of our community with the first generation immigrants who really paved the way for everyone like myself and everyone else today that's able to be on a show and from a Muslim institution. They've really done their job and they've done their work. It's now time for our generation to really take this seriously in the day and age when everyone is trying to, compete with the Joneses and, live quote unquote the American dream. Like that's not the mission that was given to the prophets. That's not the mission that the Sahaba inherited. And we as Islamic workers, we have to take that role and mission seriously, because the hard work, I mean, from my standpoint, the hard work was done by the first generation. Like the second generation, most of us don't have accents. We're seen walking around just, as Americans as we should be, but we have a lot of work ahead of us as a community. But I see that we have, inshallah, we're seeing change every day in our society, and I think that a lot of that change is good. I know the news is, most of the news makes their money off of negative news, but there's a lot that's changing in our society, and we say alhamdulillah that Allah has allowed us to be able to be part of this work, and that change is coming.
Absolutely. And again, thank you so much for the very informative information that you give us, a great insight on Mass's program for this year and inshallah for the future. For those that do want to get involved, please do reach out to Mass directly, or you can reach out to us and we can connect you to this organization for a greater cause. Other than that, again, thank you so much, everyone. Please don't forget to visit shuracouncil.org. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.